What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Jack of All Trades. There has been a lot of buzz in the community around the new patch notes. Season 2 is coming out. Let's take a look at them together. There is a lot of changes, and there's definitely going to be a lot of talk around a lot of these things. Some of them are good, some of them you might not be too fond of. Let's just go through them quickly so you can get a good idea of general vibe of what's going on here. So, on the trailer board here, you'll see that it couldn't even fit into one of these cards. They have 3 cards here. Let's start with the first one, alright? Basically, all you gotta know for Seasons 2.0 is they're changing the way seasons are structured. Instead of having our little events and activities throughout, it's all gonna be basically a really big global event. The whole season's basically going to be a global event, so they're going to introduce a modifier that's going to affect the gameplay loop and change some core mechanics. And then there's going to be a lot of individual modifiers that you can attach to like your Isaac thing that are going to basically affect that global event modifier that's going on for the season. This season's theme is on ranges, so everything's going to be about like different ranges that you're engaging with and swapping ranges, all that kind of thing. I don't have much to say around that. I never really play the global events that much, so I'm a little disappointed to be forced into playing a global event basically all the time if I want to play the season, but whatever. It's not really adding new content, it's changing the gameplay a little bit, you know, through making it a little more challenging perhaps, but if it's fun, it's fun. So I'm going to reserve judgments until we can actually play with the new season structure. Priority objectives, scouts, all this stuff. They're also changing the way you get, you progress through the seasons. You have to do targeted events now instead of earning passive XP. I also don't like this either. At the stage of the game, of my journey with the game as well, I just play legendary and stuff. So I would level up from the seasons just from doing whatever content I want to play and getting levels. Having to be forced to do specific objectives to progress through the season, I'm not that into, but whatever. All the new gear here, alright, is going to be focusing on what I was saying about the ranges with the new modifier. So that's pretty much everything that's going to be talked about here. We got swap speed, kind of lame, optimal range, weapon damage, kind of cool. We haven't seen 15% like weapon damage core in the 3-piece. We'll see how this plays out. It might make sense with the current season, with the 2.0, but I don't know if this is actually going to be useful outside of that. Perfect Versatile is going to be cool. Versatile is really strong, but it was never really meta because of the weird swapping of it. We'll see if this comes into play. 45% weapon damage is really, really strong. The other named piece is going to have plus 50% optimal range. So if you run that one piece, you're going to get swap speed and optimal range. And if you run a 2, you get even more optimal range. Optimal range has never been that meta. Maybe it'll make more sense with the way things are set up now because there's been a lot of rebalancing. This new gear set is, again, to do with weird range things and swapping weapons. You'll see that a lot throughout here. They're really trying to play into that with the theme for the first season they're doing, the Seasons 2.0 structure on. I don't really like the sound of this. You can look at it in detail, but basically you have to do this weird swapping, and you have buffs that are on and then off depending on the range. It's kind of weird. The new exotic holster sounds kind of cool. Again, playing into that swapping element. So maybe if you stack all these things, it synergizes really nicely. This one is a lot more straightforward. You swap weapons, you get this buff, you swap back, you get this buff. And it just keeps kind of going back and forth as you swap, and you'll keep it for 8 seconds. I like this a lot more because of how simple it is, and we'll see if it's actually worth running these buffs, you know, in a build. Another new exotic coming is this assault rifle. This one, be on the look for. It sounds pretty damn good. It should be pretty strong. Again, we'll see how it plays out. I like the talent. It's unique, but also simple. You don't have to do some crazy stuff for it. It'll apply marks to enemies other than the ones you kill, and it'll make them take even more damage, so making them easier to kill, and that you can keep that rolling. I think it'll be really good. Another talent involving the not swapping this time, but swapping your distance. This one involves getting kills at a far distance, and that'll help you do damage when you shoot someone at close. I don't like this mechanic that they're playing into of having to engage at different distances, because I feel like that's going to be really disruptive to most of the gameplay. Like, I don't want to be thinking about, oh, there's an enemy right in front of me, but I gotta shoot one far so that I get my stack, and then I'll shoot this guy. It seems a little weird. We'll see what plays out. Huge sledgehammer nerf. I don't know why they did this. They basically made it useless. The whole point of sledgehammer was to be used as a support build. Maybe your healer has it, your support player has it, so that it can proc extra damage on big targets. Now, the target that sledgehammer is applied to is only going to take amplified damage from the agent that applied it, not from the whole squad. So basically this thing's going to be useless, but because they're not very creative, they basically made the mosquito, which was useless, into new sledgehammer. So now when you apply stacks with mosquito, the exotic pistol that no one ever used because it's useless, it's basically going to do what sledgehammer does, and you're going to take that target is going to take amplified damage from all sources. So I really think they could have got a little more creative. Instead of just nerfing sledgehammer into the ground and then making mosquito sledgehammer, I mean, they could have kept sledge the way it was and then come up with something else to do with mosquito. But you know, I guess I'm glad they're trying, because this thing really is useless. This is I don't know what to say, because you have to see how it feels in hand when we play. They're making these rifles fully automatic, so I don't know what's going on there. This is going to be really interesting. Some of them make sense, like the ACR-SS. They didn't include that here, but I'm imagining because it's a rifle, it's going to be the ACR-SS. That fully auto is probably going to be pretty cool. You don't have to, it'll save your finger, but yeah, I don't know how that's going to play out. Let's see how it feels in game. Next block, let's keep it running. Uh-oh, you see this? Buffs and nerfs. They rebalanced all of the weapons again. What really gets me about this one is I feel like they just did this with Project Resolve. That was like one of the whole points of Project Resolve, was rebalancing things, brands, and gear, and weapons. And look at this. They basically just did it again. They just did it all over again. So I don't know why did they mess it up the first time, and so they felt the need to do it again? Did they buff it, make all the changes the first time, wait to see what we figured out the metas were, and then just change it? Who knows how this is going to play out? There are lots of nerfs across the board that are going to affect how a lot of these weapons feel. For the most part on these things, again, my only problem was that they're rechanging it so soon after they just did Project Resolve and changed all of these things. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much. Someone like IKEA is going to run all the stats for us and then figure out what the metas are, and then we're just going to use the new metas. So yeah, the meta's changing again. Bah, whatever, right? I wouldn't be too hung up on the general state of things. However, there are certain things, like the D50 getting nerfed really sucks, you know. There's going to be specific weapons. The mods are all getting better. Pretty much across the board, they're all getting better. You'll see some nerfs here, but it makes sense with how much the... it's like a two-sided mods, right? So this one gives stability and accuracy. The accuracy is getting worse, but the stability is getting way higher. I feel like I'm really happy with this. The mods have been pretty straightforward. Everyone runs the exact same on all their setups pretty much. So this can become a lot more interesting, and I think overall just more powerful. Gear and talents. All right. There's a lot of changes here. Nothing too interesting. Shockingly, right? They're buffing Gunslinger because of the season. So that's going to make sense. Entrench might, at least Perfect Entrench, might become kind of good if you can spam it every second. I'm guessing it's 2 seconds for the normal version and 1 second on the perfect version, in brackets there. So this might be interesting. Kinetic Momentum is just going to be even stronger. It's 100% going to be the meta now for skill damage on the chest. Obliterate is getting obliterated. It's not the end of the world, but They're going down from 25 stacks to 17. This really sucks because Obliterate was, I mean, it was a meta for a reason. It was really easy to take care of keeping that stacks up. The other thing too is they did actually, it says before 5 seconds, and it's actually 10 seconds now, which is they changed again with Project Resolve, and now they're changing it again. So if it does go down to 5 seconds only and 17 total, that's really gonna suck for Obliterate. We're gonna have to start running something else. Overwatch, small change. Spark, small change. Safeguard becoming even stronger from 100% repair skills to 130. Might be cool. Hollow Man, a little bit of a buff. Might be cool. This is going to be super, super strong. I was really complaining about the fact that it only gave 10% skill health, the Motherly Love, because you could just run One Piece Empress, which did the same. So there was no point in this anymore. But now it's becoming interesting again. And there's definitely some builds that I'm going to have that are going to use this. They changed it by 1%. Who cares? This thing is still going to suck. Prakaro's getting nerfed, everybody. The theme for this year, all right, be ready as we start to get more of some of the buffs and nerfs. They basically, what you got to know is they nerfed all of the DPS meta things. So anything that was like red, DPS, meta, strikers, Elmos, Oreo, Obliterate, Cheska, Grupo. We've talked about some of them, but all of these things I just listed are nerfed, and we'll cover that there. But that's basically the theme here: is they nerfed all of our metas. Perfectly accurate, a little better. Who cares? This might be strong, 10% buff to the rate of fire, but again, they're changing all the guns, the base weapons as well. So who knows how that's going to play out? This is a little better. I feel like Eyeless, Ignited, and Sadist. They buffed them a little bit. I still don't think they're going to get enough uptime to be useful. Fast Hands, another meta, getting nerfed. I think it might still be useful, to be honest, but we'll see how that plays out. Killer becoming even stronger, and our Dark Winter is going to do almost 100% more crit when it's proc. That's kind of crazy. Killer's cool and all, but again, I play Legendary, and so we don't typically run on kill mechanics, so we'll see about that. Same thing, Ignited, whatever. Optimus getting stronger, which is interesting because Optimus was also meta, and they're basically nerfing all the metas. None of this really matters too much. Ranger going to be even stronger, and I was really hyped about Ranger before. I was one of the ones that was touting Ranger and using it, so this is going to be even stronger. That's going to be sweet for longer range builds. This might be the new meta. Reformation's becoming actually a little more useful, going from 30 to 60, which makes a lot more sense because the 30% before was useless. Sadist, Thunderstrike, again, same thing. It's going to be stronger, but I don't know if you can proc it enough for it to be useful. Vindictive, slight buff. Measured, I'm not going to go deal with all that. I'm going to leave that for one of the number crunchers to figure out if this is actually useful now. All these other talents getting a little bit better. Brazen's going to be even stronger, and it was really strong before, so that's interesting. Jazz Hands, even better, and Pumped Up, even better. Lots of stuff covered here, okay? Let's keep it rolling. Get ready for this. We're talking about gear sets and some other exotics, all right? This, okay, I'm not going to get too into it because I don't want to get too excited now if they do end up changing. Remember, these are just the patch notes. We're in PTS. Who knows what's going to actually get live, all right? But this is easily what I'm the most excited about. Hardwired is going from 20 seconds base that you can refresh your skills to 10 seconds. This is definitely needed because Hardwired at 20 seconds was basically useless. Like, you're not getting any benefit if you can only proc the skill refresh every 20 seconds. So you basically had to run it with the backpack. So this makes a lot of sense that they're basically making the backpack version be the normal version, and the backpack's going to make it even better. Which you'll see here, it goes from 10. So now it's 10 base to 5, whereas before it was from 20 base, which was useless, to 10. Okay, this is going to be awesome if this goes live. I already have so many builds led on theory crafting for this, but I don't want to get too caught up on it. Aegis, they're making it somewhat stronger, still going to be useless. I really don't think this is going to be good. We'll see if these small changes actually have an impact. Heartbreaker, even stronger. Cool. might be new meta now that Striker's getting nerfed. You'll see that coming over there. But Breakpoint, I don't know. We'll see if this makes it more viable. I never really used it that much because of the having to get the uptime only like in waves. One of those phasey when you have no damage and then you have big damage. Those usually don't end up playing out very well. Negotiator's buff, that's cool. Negotiator is always strong, and now it's going to be slightly stronger, which is sweet. Definitely, this is just for the backpack. Ongoing directive, even more damage for the chest. Might be worth taking a look at that then. I don't play with ongoing, so that's going to be interesting. Strikers. Oh my god, Strikers got nerfed. Guys, it's not really that bad, okay? Just the backpack went from 1%. You lost 50% amp damage. Does it kind of suck? Bah, yeah. My whole opinion on this is that I don't think the metas that we currently had with Elmo Strikers were overpowered. I would have liked to see everything else brought up to that level, as opposed to our metas being nerfed and things brought up. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, what our overall power level is going to feel like with all these changes. But I don't think our current meta was so overpowered that it did need to be nerfed. I would have just liked to see some other things that sucked and were useless be brought in to challenge the meta. However, I'm glad that the meta is changing, but there always will be one, right? So we'll see how that plays out. Umbra might be a little more cool. I'm going to play around with that. And again, same sort of notion here with that I had with the guns. They just did Project Resolve and changed all of the values for these, and now they're changing them again, and to a lot of weird numbers. I'm not going to get too into it, but I'm a little disappointed because this is going to cause a lot of the builds that I've grinded so hard for and put so much time into and optimization and, all of that are going to be moved around a lot. Whereas before, everything just got better. When they do nerfs, the problem is that the builds that you had are not going to perform the same anymore. When they do buffs, and they buff the things that are weak, you already know how your build is going to perform. So because it has the same stats. You know that you're going to at least get the same. And then if you want to really push the meta and get something better, then you can start swapping pieces out. When they start nerfing things like this, who knows that, like, all the synergy that you spend time putting into these builds, who knows that it's going to work like that now that they have these nerfs in. Like I mentioned before, they nerfed... you can make it bigger. Very nice. They nerfed Cheska one piece. They nerfed Grupo one piece, Losing that crit, like all those builds where you had like exactly 60 crit, that's going to change now with Cheska. Kind of annoying. See, there's lots of nerfs across the board. And the buffs, kind of lame. Same sort of thing here. I don't think that there's honestly nothing that's really calling out to me. Like, who cares that they buffed the 2-piece and 3-piece of 511? 511's still fucking useless. Like, whatever. So, we'll keep it rolling. Bighorn's going to be a little stronger. Maybe cool. Got some mod updates as well. Elmo. Oof. Elmo's not going to be what it used to. Less rounds, less crits, less handling. It's basically not going to be what it was. And you'll see if you scroll further down, Oreo got taken out too. Nerfs across the board, rate of fire and to the mag. That's really, really going to hurt these two weapons. I don't think they're going to be as useful as they were. I'm going to take some time on this. With the exotics, I really feel like the point of them is to have unique and powerful talents or ways of using them. And that if you play into the unique aspects of these exotics, then it can be very, very strong. For example, Coyote's Mask it's unique, it has these weird ranges that you have to play into and you have to know what buff you're getting. But if you do optimize for it, like I have in my favorite DPS build, you're going to get a lot of crit. So it makes sense. With Elmo's and Oreo, Elmo's talent was a little bit useful. Oreo, the talent is absolutely useless. No one is using these weapons for the talent, okay? They're using them because just statistically they were better. They were the meta weapons, they handled well, and they just did dummy damage, right? I would have so much preferred if maybe they stuck with these nerfs, but then they made the exotic talents, they made these weapons actually feel like exotics. Not just because they're, you know, on paper doing more DPS, but because they actually did something interesting. If they change it so that maybe you could gain stacks while you have the electric ammo, the shock ammo, for Elmos, because right now you can't, right? Once you get all those stacks and you get the shock rounds, you can't get, it doesn't refresh, you can't keep getting stacks. If they did that, then maybe it'd be really cool. Maybe you'd make a build where you spec a lot into mag size, so that you get a lot of shock rounds, you kind of keep the shock rounds rolling. That would be really interesting, and make this, you know, very unique and used in an exotic way. And maybe also warrant the fact that it's not just going to be statistically a DPS beast across the board. Same sort of thing that I feel like for the Ouroboros. Like, the talent is useless. People are just using it because it was SMG Go Brr, you know. I would have liked to see something a lot more creative done with those. And then I would be less mad about the categorical nerfs. Eagle Bearer a little better on the mods. Bah. Chameleon's going to be sick. It's already one of my favorites. And now the shots that you need to hit to proc the buffs is going to be a lower bar. So that's going to be awesome. Lady Death, some mods. Who cares? Backfire, hugely hyped about this. One of the worst parts of Backfire is that you had to get 200 stacks. Now the damage is the same. So instead of 1% per stack to 200, now it's 2% per stack to 100. So same total cap, but you're going to be able to hit that a lot easier, which is going to be really, really great. The Backfire is actually going to be worth making weird builds for now, I think. And a little better on the mods, most notably, where is it? Crit chance. That 10% crit chance is going to be really, really sweet because you have to sacrifice a lot of attributes to be able to get the Hasbro to run a Backfire build. So this is going to help out a lot. I'm very excited for the Backfire. Chatterbox is going to be even cooler. It's going to shoot dummy fast at max stack, so that's going to be cool. Ooh, and 14% more weapon damage. That's interesting. We talked about the Ouroboros, Iron Lung, some mod changes, not big. Blue screen, I would have liked to see this changed a little more, like buffed a little more than just the mods. Bullet King against some mods. They're doing a lot of things with mods, as we saw. Same thing with the Merciless. I don't think these are going to be game changing for whether or not these weapons are good. Functionally, they're going to be the same. Vindicator, 20% boost. Is it still going to be worth shooting them into the toes to be able to, you know, proc this over just using a damn rifle? I doubt it. We'll see. Scorpio got absolutely destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. This really sucks. Okay? You used to be able to proc these things in like one mag, basically. Now you're gonna have to hit a reload, and they nerfed the base weapon, the 612. So we're gonna see how this plays out, but this might really, really, really suck. And I use this in all my legendary builds. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Catharsis change makes a lot of sense. It goes from each stack granting 1% to each stack granting 1.5%. So you're going to get an extra 7.5% total damage at max stack, which is pretty sweet. The Catharsis before was basically you have to run the blue, but then on average it would give you 15% weapon damage. So it was kind of an even trade-off. Now it's going to be a lot more enticing to use this mask. So I think that's really cool, and I really like the Catharsis. This, to me, is a great exotic piece. It's very unique. It's doing a lot of cool things. You take damage, you generate stacks that make you do more damage, but then it also has that cloud effect. This, to me, is a great, super well-executed exotic. I would have liked to see something this unique and useful brought to the Ouroboros and the Elmos instead of just nerfing them, as well as all the other exotics in the game that don't get used that much. Updated loot pool, you're going to be able to farm some named stuff, and it's all laid out for you. And then there's the issues, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So this was a lot to cover. I tried going through it fast, but I still feel like this is going to end up being a decent length video. Guys, thanks for watching. There's going to be a lot coming for the Division 2. PTS is going live right now. I'm not holding my breath for anything. We're going to wait to see what happens when this stuff comes live. And then there's going to be plenty of other people in the community. We're going to run a bunch of stats so to figure out what the new metas are and all that. That's not something that I do, but I will keep bringing very unique builds for you guys, no matter what the changes are. Let's see how it plays out and try to keep optimistic about this. I know they nerfed a lot of things. I'm not going to be negative about it. Let's just get creative from our end, share our feedback, and there's just going to be more to do for us. So I think that's overall a good thing. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for all the more content, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.